I secretly recorded my wife's motel affair, let her pack the suitcase, played the footage calmly, filed for divorce, and reclaimed my life forever. On Saturday morning, Jessica Harrison was frying eggs in the kitchen while enjoying the aroma of pancakes her husband Mark was making. Their home in a small residential neighborhood in suburban Connecticut wasn't luxurious, but it was a warm space filled with love. "Mom, what time are we going to Grandma's house today?" 8-year-old Ryan came running down the stairs. Still in his pajamas, he smoothed down his tousled blonde hair and looked up at his mother with bright blue eyes. "After we have lunch, but you need to finish your homework first." Jessica gently stroked her son's head. "I already finished it. I did it last night." Ryan puffed out his chest proudly. Mark laughed as he served pancakes on plates. "That's my boy. You're responsible and admirable." Jessica worked as a loan officer at the local bank. She had been married to Mark, an engineer, for 10 years. Both led busy lives, but they cherished their time with their son. The monthly family dinner at her parents' house was an essential event for them. "Dylan's coming too, right?" Ryan asked while pouring maple syrup. "Of course he should be coming with Aunt Kate." Dylan was the son of Jessica's sister Kate, who had just turned 12. Ryan loved playing with Dylan. Being larger and stronger, Dylan sometimes became a leader figure among the younger children. "I'm bringing a new game today. I want to play it with Dylan." Ryan had a gentle nature and often looked after younger children at school. His teacher praised him as a very caring child. Watching such a son made Jessica feel truly proud. At 2 o'clock in the afternoon, the Harrison family arrived at her mother's house. It was an old 2-story house surrounded by a white fence in a residential area about 30 minutes by car from New Haven. "Ryan, come to Grandma." Barbara hugged her grandson at the front door. Beside her, Robert was reading a newspaper. Her father was a quiet, gentle man. "Hi, Dad." "Mom," Jessica greeted her parents. "Hasn't Kate arrived yet?" Mark asked. "She should be here soon." "She's waiting for Dylan to get back from soccer practice," Barbara answered. 30 minutes later, Kate arrived with Dylan. Kate had married 3 years ago and was dedicating herself to raising children as a stay-at-home mom. "It's been so long," Kate greeted cheerfully. "Hello, Dylan," Jessica called out to her nephew. Dylan had a mild developmental disability, but attended regular school. Sometimes he had difficulty controlling his emotions, but he was basically an honest child. However, he was larger than children his age and physically stronger. "Ryan, let's play together," Dylan called out. "Yeah, I brought a new game," Ryan answered happily. While helping with dinner preparation, Jessica watched the family gathering. Her parents doted on their grandchildren, and her husband Mark and Kate's husband got along well. These peaceful times were most precious to her. "Mom, can Dylan and I play in the yard?" Ryan asked. "Of course, but don't come back too late." Barbara smiled as she watched the grandchildren's retreating figures. They really get along well. At that moment, Jessica felt this peaceful daily life would continue forever. The family bond was strong, with relationships where they cared for each other. When summer vacation began, Ryan and Dylan spent more time together. Barbara enjoyed taking care of her grandchildren. With her experience as a former teacher, she was accustomed to looking after children. "Grandma, can I play with Dylan again today?" Ryan asked while eating cereal for breakfast. "Of course. Play together until Kate comes to pick him up this afternoon." Barbara stroked her grandson's head. Dylan had a good build and was noticeably larger than children his age. Ryan, on the other hand, had a small build appropriate for his age, and when standing next to his cousin, the difference was obvious. "Ryan, what should we play today?" Dylan came into the living room. "Let's build a base with Legos. I want to continue what we started yesterday." Ryan's eyes lit up. However, Dylan was already showing interest in something else. "I'm bored with Legos. Let's play soccer outside." "But I like Legos," Ryan protested softly. "Soccer is more fun. Boys should play sports," Dylan said in a decisive tone. Ryan looked a bit troubled, but eventually gave in to his cousin's opinion. Going out to the yard, Dylan kicked the soccer ball forcefully. Ryan tried desperately to keep up, but the difference in physical strength was obvious. "Run faster," Dylan said in an irritated voice. "I'm trying," Ryan answered breathlessly. After 30 minutes, Ryan was exhausted. "Can we take a break?" "You're tired already." "You're so weak," Dylan said in a contemptuous tone. Barbara looked into the yard and called out, "Boys, I made cold lemonade, so come in and drink some." While drinking in the kitchen, Dylan suddenly threw a tantrum. He put his glass down hard and complained, "This lemonade is too sweet." Dylan, you shouldn't talk like that, Barbara lightly scolded. But it's true, Dylan answered defiantly. Barbara forced a smile. Getting emotional is a sign of growing up. At that moment, Ryan switched his glass with Dylan's. Let's trade. Mine is less sweet. Dylan took Ryan's glass without saying anything. There were no words of thanks. In the afternoon, Kate came to pick up her son. Dylan, did you have fun? It was okay, Dylan answered curtly. I'm glad you played well with Ryan, Kate smiled with satisfaction. In the evening, when Jessica came to pick up her son, Ryan looked a bit tired. How was today? It was fun. Dylan and I played soccer. Ryan forced a smile. However, Jessica sensed slight fatigue in her son's expression. You look tired. I'm fine. Dylan is good at soccer, so I want to get good too. In the car on the way home, Ryan kept talking about Dylan. Dylan is strong. I want to be strong too. What do you mean by strong? Jessica asked. Having a big body and being powerful and not being afraid of anything. Jessica became a bit worried, but kindness is important too. You're a kind child, so Mom is proud of you. But if you're not strong, people will make fun of you, Ryan murmured. That weekend, the whole family decided to go to the beach. In the large van driven by Robert, 3 generations of family piled in. It's been years since we all went to the beach together, Barbara said happily. It'll be good memories for the children, Kate agreed. When they arrived at the beach, Dylan ran straight toward the waves. Ryan, hurry up! Ryan approached the waves cautiously. He wasn't very good at swimming. You don't have to be scared, Jessica encouraged her son. However, Dylan couldn't wait. Let's go further out. I'm fine here, Ryan answered. That's boring, Dylan said, dissatisfied. The adults were relaxing in the shade. While Mark and Kate's husband talked about work, Barbara and Robert watched their grandchildren. Dylan is so active, isn't he? Barbara said. Sometimes I worry a bit, but he's a boy, so it can't be helped, Kate answered. When lunchtime came, everyone gathered at the picnic table. Dylan wasn't satisfied with just his portion and reached for Ryan's sandwich too. Do you want to eat mine too? Ryan asked kindly. I'm hungry, Dylan answered as if it were natural. Ryan split his portion in half and gave it to his cousin. Jessica watched this scene, but the other family members didn't seem to mind. In the afternoon, they decided to build sand castles. Ryan began carefully making a small castle. Such a tiny thing is boring, Dylan said. But it's pretty, isn't it? Ryan answered proudly. However, Dylan suddenly trampled Ryan's castle with his foot. Something like this breaks easily. Tears welled up in Ryan's eyes, but he didn't cry out. Dylan, that's not nice, Mark lightly scolded. I was just playing. Dylan showed no remorse. Boys' play is rough. Barbara defended him. In the car on the way home, Ryan was quiet. Jessica became worried and spoke to him. Did you have fun? Yes, Ryan answered quietly. Is it fun playing with Dylan? It's fun. Dylan can do everything better than me, so being with him is educational. Jessica felt conflicted about her son's answer. Certainly, cousins playing together was a good thing, but something bothered her. However, since the whole family seemed to be spending time peacefully, she didn't think deeply about it. That night, while putting Ryan to bed, Jessica asked her son, if anything bad happens, will you tell Mom? Why? I just want you to feel you can talk to me about anything. I'm fine, Mom. I want to be strong, so I need to learn to endure things. Jessica stroked her son's head while feeling a vague anxiety. On the first Sunday in September, the family gathered at the grandparents' house as usual. It was a refreshing afternoon with hints of autumn, and Barbara had specially prepared roast beef. We have something to celebrate today, Barbara announced happily. Dylan was selected as a regular member of the soccer team. That's wonderful, Jessica congratulated her nephew. Congratulations, Dylan. Dylan puffed out his chest proudly. Of course, because I'm the strongest. Humility is important too, Kate lightly scolded her son, but her expression was proud. After lunch, the children were going to play in the backyard. Barbara's backyard was spacious, with a large oak tree and a swing set underneath it. Ryan, let's play a special game today, Dylan called out to his cousin. What kind of game? Ryan asked with interest. Wrestling. I'll be the wrestler, and you'll be the villain. Ryan looked a bit anxious. But I'm not good at fighting. It's okay. I'll go easy on you, Dylan answered confidently. The adults were chatting over coffee in the living room. They could see the yard through the window, but they only recognized it as children playing. Ryan is really such a gentle child, Barbara praised her grandson. "Maybe he's too gentle," Jessica answered. "I wish he would be a little stronger." "Boys naturally become stronger as they get older," Robert said, looking up from his newspaper. At that moment, Dylan was ordering Ryan in the yard, "Fight like a villain." "I don't like fighting," Ryan protested quietly. "You're such a weakling." "Men should fight," Dylan's voice contained irritation. But what?" Dylan suddenly exploded emotionally. It was the moment when his difficulty with emotional control due to his developmental disability surfaced. "I didn't do anything wrong," Ryan answered tearfully. "Nothing wrong? You're wrong for being weak." Dylan pushed Ryan's chest hard with both hands. The 8-year-old boy staggered backward and fell at the base of the oak tree. "It hurts," Ryan groaned. "Get up. The game isn't over yet." Dylan showed no mercy. When Ryan tried to get up, Dylan pushed him down again, this time with more force. Ryan's back hit the ground violently. "Stop it!" Ryan began to cry. However, Dylan's anger didn't subside. He straddled his cousin and raised his fist. "Don't cry, you're a boy." His fist came down on Ryan's side. The strength of a 12-year-old boy was far too much for an 8-year-old body. Ryan's scream echoed through the autumn sky. It was a desperate cry like nothing they'd ever heard before. All the adults in the living room stood up at once. What was that sound? Jessica rushed to the window. Looking at the yard, she saw Ryan lying on the ground, holding his side and crying. Dylan was standing a little distance away. "Ryan!" Jessica flew out the back door into the yard. She knelt beside her son and tried to lift him up, but Ryan couldn't move his body due to the pain. "What happened?" "What's wrong, Dylan?" "We were just playing," Dylan interrupted. Ryan fell down. Jessica carefully examined her son's body. His side was abnormally swollen, clearly not in a normal state. When she lifted his shirt, a blue-black bruise was already beginning to form. "I need to call an ambulance." Jessica took out her smartphone. At that moment, Barbara came out into the yard. "What's wrong?" "Ryan is injured. He might have broken ribs." Just as Jessica was about to dial 911, her mother snatched the smartphone from her hand. "Wait a minute. Mom, what are you doing? My son is hurt." "It's just boys fighting." Barbara's voice was calm. "An ambulance is overdramatic. Are you going to ruin your precious grandson's future?" Jessica couldn't believe her mother's words. "Future? What are you talking about? Ryan is suffering." "I'm talking about Dylan. If the police come, this might be recorded as a violent incident. It would stain that child's future." At that moment, Robert and Mark also came out to the yard. Jessica sought help from her husband. "Mark, get the car. We need to take him to the hospital immediately." However, Robert just glanced at Ryan and said, "You're always so dramatic, calling an ambulance over a little pain." Her father didn't even look at his grandson with concern. It was as if Ryan's pain was trivial. "Dad, you're his grandfather too, aren't you?" Jessica's voice trembled. "Of course I am. That's exactly why I'm telling you to stay calm." When Kate appeared in the yard, there was a triumphant smile on her face. "Ryan will be fine. Children recover quickly. He might have broken ribs," Jessica desperately pleaded. "That's an exaggeration. Dylan couldn't have hit him that hard." "You admit he hit him. It was within the bounds of play. Boys' play sometimes gets rough." Ryan was moaning softly on the ground. His face was pale from pain, and he was breaking out in cold sweat. He clearly needed medical attention. Jessica was appalled by her family's reaction. They were more concerned about Dylan's future as the perpetrator than her son's pain. They were ignoring the suffering of their blood-related grandson and trying to dismiss the violence as boys' play. "Please return my phone," Jessica said calmly. "Jessica, calm down," Barbara said in a soothing tone. "Please return it right now. You're being too emotional as a mother." At that moment, Mark finally understood the situation. He tried to get the smartphone back from his mother-in-law, but Barbara stubbornly refused to give it up. "Is everyone crazy?" Jessica's voice filled with anger. "An 8-year-old child is injured, and no one is trying to help." "Help? What help?" Kate argued back. "Turning Dylan over to the police is helping." Jessica took a deep breath. She understood that her family had completely turned against her. However, she was prepared to fight her family to protect her son. "Mark, get the car keys." "But Jessica—" Right now, Jessica carefully lifted Ryan, who was in pain. She could feel her son's small body trembling. "It's okay, Ryan. Mommy will protect you." She felt her family's cold stares on her back as she carried her son to the car. No one tried to help. No one spoke words of concern. Before getting in the car, Jessica turned around. She could see her family standing in the yard. There wasn't a trace of guilt on their faces. At that moment, something changed decisively in Jessica's heart. This wasn't just a fight between children. This was a family-wide cover-up and a betrayal of her son. In the car, Ryan continued to moan softly. Mark gripped the steering wheel desperately as he headed to the nearest general hospital. "It's okay, Ryan. We'll be at the hospital soon," Mark called out to his son in the back seat. "It hurts, Mom," Ryan answered in a trembling voice. Jessica held her son's hand while feeling her body shake with anger. She couldn't believe her family's reaction. Prioritizing the perpetrator's future over the pain of their blood-related grandson was not the act of sane people. When they arrived at the emergency room, a nurse rushed over with a wheelchair. Seeing Ryan's condition, he was immediately taken to the triage room. "How long has he been in pain?" asked the attending physician, Dr. Harris. "About 30 minutes. He was playing with his cousin." Jessica began to answer when Ryan shook his head slightly. "What's wrong, Ryan?" "It's nothing. I just fell down." Her son was clearly lying. The X-ray results showed cracks in 2 ribs and minor internal bleeding. "There seems to have been quite an impact," Dr. Harris explained the diagnosis. "It's rare for such injuries to result from a simple fall." Jessica met the doctor's eyes. "What are you trying to say, doctor?" "To be frank, we need to consider the possibility of abuse." "This pattern of injury, abuse?" Mark was surprised. "I'm not saying you are the perpetrators. However, we need to follow procedures to protect the child." The doctor began examining Ryan's body closely. Then he discovered old bruises on his thigh. "When did these bruises occur?" Ryan didn't answer. Jessica didn't know her son had such bruises on his body. "Ryan, when did these happen?" "I don't remember." Her son looked away. "There are other old bruises, too." The doctor pointed out yellowish discolored bruises on his arm. These bruises appeared to have been made at different times. Jessica was stunned. There had been hidden truths on her son's body. After finishing treatment and returning home, Jessica had a serious discussion with Mark. The family's reaction today was abnormal. Jessica started the conversation. "Certainly. I can't understand why Mom took your phone." It wasn't just that. Everyone covered for Dylan and ignored Ryan's pain. Mark sighed deeply. "But they're family. That's exactly why we need to know the truth." That night, after Ryan fell asleep, Jessica continued thinking about the old bruises on her son's body. When had such things been happening? Why hadn't her son said anything? The next day, Jessica made a bold decision. She ordered a small camera online. It was a hidden camera in the form of a wristwatch that even a child could easily use. "Ryan, will you promise Mom something?" "What?" "If you ever play with Dylan again, please wear this watch." "Why?" "So Mom can protect you. If anything bad happens, run away immediately." Ryan looked anxious. "But Dylan is my cousin. He's family, right? Being family doesn't give anyone the right to hurt you." The following week, Barbara called. "Jessica, we're having family dinner again this Sunday, so please come. But Ryan's injury is still..." "Don't be so dramatic. It's been a week already. Besides, Dylan wants to apologize to Ryan." Jessica hesitated for a moment, but thought it was a chance to learn the truth. "All right, we'll come." On Sunday, Ryan wore the wristwatch camera, as promised. When they arrived at the house, Dylan approached his cousin. "Ryan, I'm sorry about last time." It was a formal apology, but the adults looked satisfied. "See, Dylan apologized properly," Kate said proudly. "It's best when children settle things among themselves," Barbara agreed. After lunch, the children were going to play in the yard again. This time, the adults also went out to the yard, taking a supervisory position. However, 30 minutes later, the adults went back to the living room. "Shouldn't we go check on them?" Jessica suggested. "It's fine. They won't fight this time," Kate declared. However, when Jessica checked the camera footage an hour later, she witnessed a shocking scene. As soon as the adults left, Dylan began taking a threatening attitude toward Ryan. "Forget about last time." Dylan gripped Ryan's shoulder hard. The 8-year-old boy grimaced in pain. Even more shocking was that Kate, who was watching from the window, smiled at her son's behavior. Barbara was also standing by the window but didn't try to stop it. On the contrary, she could be heard muttering, "It's good that he's becoming more like a boy." Dylan pushed his cousin to the ground and threatened, "If you cry next time, I'll do something worse." Ryan desperately held back tears. "I understand." The footage continued. Dylan twisted Ryan's arm and commanded, "You just need to do what I say." When Ryan whispered, "It hurts," Dylan twisted his arm even harder. "Don't say it hurts. You're a boy." At that moment, Robert was also looking through the window. However, he did nothing and went back to his newspaper. Jessica couldn't stop shaking as she watched the footage. This wasn't just play between cousins. This was systematic abuse and a family-wide cover-up. Mark was also speechless after seeing the footage. This is a crime, and everyone knows and is letting it happen. Jessica made her decision. The next morning, she visited the local police station. "I have a consultation about child abuse." Detective Sergeant Davis carefully viewed the footage. "This is clear assault, and adults are involved." "They're my family," Jessica explained. "Being family doesn't make violence acceptable. Your child's safety is the top priority." The police promised to begin a formal investigation. "We have video evidence and a doctor's diagnosis. It's sufficient evidence." That evening, Jessica's cell phone rang. It was Barbara. "Jessica, what did you do?" "The police came. I did what was necessary to protect my son." "You went to the police about family matters." "I can't believe it. The family is the one hurting my son. You betrayed your family," Jessica answered quietly. "I wasn't the one who betrayed. It was you who abandoned Ryan." After hanging up, Jessica embraced Mark and their son. "This isn't the end," Mark said. "It might be a long fight, but we're doing the right thing." Ryan said quietly, "Mom, was I bad?" "No, Ryan, you did nothing wrong. The bad people are those who hurt you." That night, Jessica looked at her son's sleeping face and made a vow. No matter how much criticism she received from her family, no matter how isolated she became, she would protect her son. That was her mission as a mother. As the police investigation progressed, shocking truths came to light. Kate had failed 3 years of fertility treatments and was suffering from severe psychological distress. Her jealousy toward her sister, who had a healthy son, had developed into indirect revenge using Dylan. Kate had been carrying the pain of not being able to have children for years. A psychological counselor testified in court. Her hatred toward her sister's happy family manifested as aggressive behavior through her son. Barbara and Robert, sympathizing too much with their daughter's suffering, had turned a blind eye to Dylan's violent behavior. For the reason that Kate has suffered enough already, they continued to justify their grandson's violence as boyishness. 6 months later, the court handed down its verdict. Kate was found guilty of aiding child abuse and received 2 years of probation. Dylan was to receive counseling at a specialized treatment facility. "Mom protected me, didn't she?" Ryan said after counseling at the hospital. "Of course. Protecting you is Mom's job." Jessica hugged her son. Ryan's emotional wounds were deep, but he gradually recovered with support from specialists. There were nights when he suffered from nightmares, but surrounded by family love, he regained his smile. She became completely estranged from Barbara and Robert. When she was severely criticized for selling out the family to the police, Jessica answered quietly, "I protected my son." A year later, the Harrison family moved to Portland, Oregon. Mark changed jobs, and they decided to make a fresh start in a new place. "How's the new school?" Jessica asked her son. "I made friends. Everyone is kind." Ryan had regained his former brightness. In the yard of their new home, Ryan played peacefully with neighborhood children. He was building real friendships without violence. "Do you think it was good that you went to the police then?" Mark asked his wife. "Of course. I was able to protect my son." Jessica looked at her son playing in the yard and thought, a real family isn't built on blood relations alone. What makes a family bond is caring for each other, protecting the weak, and having the courage to uphold justice. No matter what circumstances the perpetrator might have, violence can never be justified. Overlooking violence for reasons like because we're family, because he's a boy, or because it's pitiful is a betrayal of the victim. A letter from Dylan arrived 6 months after the move. The letter from the treatment facility contained brief words of apology. "Ryan, I was wrong. I'm sorry for hurting you." Ryan read the letter with a complex expression. "Are you going to write back?" Jessica asked. "Not now, but if Dylan really changes someday, I want to forgive him." Jessica felt growth in her son's words. Even after being hurt, he had acquired the strength to continue having hope without being imprisoned by hatred. That night, while putting Ryan to bed, Jessica quietly made a vow. No matter what difficulties arose, she would continue to protect her son. That was the right path as a mother and as a human being. The family back in her distant hometown might still call her a traitor, but Jessica had no regrets. Her son's smile was proof that her choice had been correct. The family's life that began in their new land was bound together by bonds based on true love and justice, not merely relying on blood relations, and those bonds were what real family should be. Looking back on that fateful September afternoon, as I watch Ryan laugh and play in our sunny yard in Portland, I'm overwhelmed by a complex mix of emotions that still catch me off guard sometimes. There's profound gratitude, first and foremost, for my son's resilience, for the way he's healed, for the bright, gentle boy he's become again. Seeing him make true friends, ones who treat him with kindness and respect, fills my heart with a joy I can't quite put into words. He's proof that love and safety can mend even the deepest wounds. Every time he smiles without fear, I feel like I've won the most important battle of my life. But there's also lingering pain, a quiet ache that surfaces on harder days. I mourn the family I thought I had. My parents, my sister, they were supposed to be the people who protected us, who cherished Ryan as much as I do. Instead, they chose to shield violence, to excuse cruelty because it came from the stronger child, because Kate was suffering, because boys will be boys. Discovering that my own mother would snatch away my phone while my son lay injured on the ground, more worried about Dylan's future than Ryan's present suffering, it shattered something fundamental in me. I felt betrayed on the deepest level, not just as a mother, but as a daughter. The realization that blood ties meant nothing when weighed against their distorted sense of loyalty still stings. Anger comes too, though it's softened with time. I'm angry at Kate for channeling her pain into harming my child, at my parents for enabling it, at the whole family dynamic that dismissed Ryan's gentleness as weakness. I'm furious that they forced me to become the traitor for doing the only right thing, protecting my son. Reporting them to the police felt like tearing apart my own history, but I'd do it again in a heartbeat. No regret there, only righteous resolve. There's guilt as well, on quieter nights. Did I miss the signs earlier? Could I have shielded Ryan sooner? I replay those beach days, the lemonade moments, the sandcastle he built so carefully only to watch it destroyed. I wish I'd trusted my instincts more fiercely from the start. Yet I know I acted when it mattered most, and that has to be enough. Above all, there's pride, an immense, fierce pride in Ryan's courage and in my own. He endured so much yet never lost his kindness, and I found strength I didn't know I had, to stand alone against my entire family, to uproot our lives, to build something new and healthy. Moving here, cutting ties, starting over, it was terrifying, but it gave us freedom. Real family, I've learned, isn't about blood or tradition, it's about who shows up, who protects, who loves without condition. Mark and I have become that for Ryan, and he for us. Today, as Christmas approaches, I feel hopeful. Ryan's excitement for the holidays, his trust in the world again, it heals me too. I've lost a family, but I've gained the truest one, the three of us, bound by love, justice, and unbreakable trust. And that, more than anything, feels like peace.